The soft hum of machinery filled the deep space monitoring station as Jake Morrison sat at his console, watching the endless stream of data from distant stars. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't notice. This was the night shift on Station Eco 7, and most nights were quiet. Very quiet. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and checked the time. 3 more hours until his replacement arrived. He was about to reach for his coffee when something caught his attention. A signal was coming through on the emergency frequency, but it wasn't like anything he had ever heard before. The sound was beautiful. It reminded him of wind chimes in a gentle breeze, or maybe the sound of crystal glasses singing when touched just right. The melody rose and fell in patterns that made his chest tight with emotion he couldn't explain. But underneath the beauty, Jake could hear something else. Fear. Desperation. "Computer-run translation protocol on incoming signal," Jake said. Sitting forward in his chair, the station's artificial intelligence began working on the strange sounds. Lines of text appeared on Jake's screen as the computer tried to make sense of the alien communication. Slowly, words began to form. "Please. Anyone who can hear this message? We need help. Our world is dying. They're coming to destroy us all." Jake's heart started beating faster. In 20 years of monitoring space, he had never received a real distress call from an alien species. There had been plenty of false alarms, and natural phenomena that looked like signals, but nothing like this. The translation continued to scroll across his screen. "We are the Zephyrians of the world you call Kepler 4 for 2b. We have tried to contact many civilizations across the galaxy. But no one will help us. The Ravagers are coming. They will strip our world bare and enslave or kill our people. We cannot fight them. We do not know how to fight anyone." Jake grabbed his communication headset and opened a channel to the station commander. "Commander Morrison to Dr. Lisa Grant. Emergency. Please report to the communications center immediately." Within minutes, Dr. Grant arrived, still wearing her sleep clothes and looking confused. Lisa was the station's expert on alien life and communications. If anyone could make sense of this signal, it would be her. "What do you have, Jake?" Lisa asked, settling into the chair next to him. Jake replayed the signal from the beginning. Lisa listened carefully, her expression growing more serious with each passing moment. When the beautiful, haunting melody filled the room again, she closed her eyes and concentrated. "My God," she whispered when the message ended. "They're real. An actual alien civilization asking for help." The signal continued, providing more details about the Zephyrians and their world. They described themselves as beings made of living crystal who communicated through harmonic frequencies. Their world was peaceful, with floating cities that rode, the gentle winds of their planet's perpetual twilight. "They've been trying to reach other species for months," Lisa said, reading the translated text. "Look at this list. They've contacted 47 different civilizations. Every single one either ignored them or sent back messages saying they couldn't help." Jake felt anger building in his chest. 47 species, and none of them will lift a finger to help. "It gets worse," Lisa continued. Some of the responses they received were basically good luck. "We'll need it," or "We're sorry for your loss." These other civilizations are writing them off as already dead. The signal described the Ravagers as a nomadic fleet that moved from world to world, taking everything of value and leaving nothing but empty rocks behind. They had destroyed hundreds of civilizations over the past 1,000 years. No one had ever successfully fought them off. "The Zephyrians say they're completely peaceful," Lisa explained. "They don't even have a concept of warfare. Their bodies are fragile, and they've never had to fight for anything in their entire evolutionary history." Jake stood up and began pacing. "So they're sitting ducks, and 47 different alien species are just going to let them die. It seems that way. According to this, most spacefaring civilizations view the Ravagers as a force of nature, like a hurricane or earthquake. Something you survive by getting out of the way, not something you fight." The distress signal continued playing, and Jake found himself drawn to the desperate beauty of the Zephyrian voice. These weren't just alien sounds anymore, and they were the cries of people who were about to die, and no one in the galaxy cared enough to help them. We need to contact Captain Rodriguez, Jake said suddenly. Lisa looked at him with surprise. Jake, we're a monitoring station. We observe and report. We don't make first contact decisions. Then we report this to someone who can make decisions. These Zephyrians are going to be wiped out, and we might be the only species in the galaxy that gives a damn. Lisa was quiet for a moment, then nodded. You're right. Let me analyze the signal some more while you wake up the captain. Jake opened a priority communication channel to the captain's quarters. Ben Rodriguez had been running deep space operations for 15 years. If anyone would know what to do, it would be him. Captain Rodriguez here. This better be important, Commander. Sir, we've received an alien distress call. A real one. They're asking for help against something called the Ravagers. There was silence. On the channel for several seconds. I'll be right down. Captain Rodriguez arrived 10 minutes later, fully dressed and alert despite being woken from deep sleep. Jake and Lisa briefed him on everything they had learned about the Zephyrians and their situation. Played the signal again, the captain ordered. They listened to the haunting melody once more. This time Jake noticed that Captain Rodriguez's expression grew harder with each word of the translation. 47 species contacted, and none will help, the captain said when the signal ended. What kind of galaxy are we living in? Practical one, Lisa said quietly. The Ravagers have never been defeated. Most species probably see helping the Zephyrians as suicide. Captain Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Grant, in your professional opinion, are the Zephyrians telling the truth about their situation? Yes. Sir, the emotional content of their communication is genuine. They're terrified and desperate. And the technical details about their world and the Ravager fleet match what we know about that region of space. How long do they have? Lisa checked her calculations. Based on the fleet movement data they provided, maybe 6 weeks before the Ravagers reached their system. The captain stood up and walked to the large window that looked out into space. Stars stretched endlessly in all directions, each one potentially home to civilizations that had decided the Zephyrians weren't worth saving. Commander Morrison. Send a message to Earth Command. Full details about this situation. Request immediate guidance on whether we can provide assistance. Yes, sir. What should I tell them about urgency? Captain Rodriguez turned back to face them. Tell them that we've just learned something important about our place in the galaxy. We may be the only species with the backbone to help people who can't help themselves. Jake began composing the message to Earth Command, but part of him already knew what the response would be. By the time the message reached Earth and a decision was made, it would probably be too late for the Zephyrians. As he worked, the alien distress signal continued to play in the background. Beautiful, desperate. Melodies seemed to fill the entire station with its plea for help. Somewhere out there, gentle beings made of living crystal were waiting for someone, anyone, to care enough to answer their call. Jake Morrison had spent 20 years listening to the empty silence of space. Tonight, for the first time, space was crying for help, and deep in his heart, he knew that humanity was going to answer. The response from Earth Command arrived 3 days later, and it was exactly what Captain Rodriguez had expected. The message was short and clear. Observe and report only. Do not engage. Do not make contact. Earth could not risk starting a war. With an unknown enemy over aliens they had never met, Captain Rodriguez read the message aloud to his senior staff. The small conference room on Station Eco 7 felt cramped with 8 people crowded around the metal table. Jake Morrison sat with his hands clenched into fists. Dr. Lisa Grant stared at the floor. The others looked uncomfortable but not surprised. That's it then, said Lieutenant Amy Walsh, the station's security chief. We just watched them die. Those are our orders, Captain Rodriguez replied. But his voice lacked conviction. Amy stood up and walked to the small window. 47 alien species, plus Earth Command. 48 civilizations that won't lift a finger to help. Amy, sit down, the captain said quietly. No, sir, I don't think I will. Amy turned back to face the group. My grandmother used to tell me stories about World War II, about how people stood by and watched evil happen because it wasn't their problem. I swore I'd never be one of those people. Sergeant Rick Davis shifted in his chair. The lieutenant has a point, sir. We've got firepower on this station. We've got ships. Hell, my transport vessel has more armor than most military craft. We've got about 24 personnel total, Captain Rodriguez pointed out, against a fleet that's wiped out hundreds of worlds. Dr. Grant looked up from her notes. I've been studying the Ravager attack patterns. They're effective because they target defenseless populations. But they've never fought anyone who actually fought back. Jake Morrison finally spoke. Zephyrian sent us more data overnight. Technical specifications of Ravager's ships, battle footage from previous attacks. I've been analyzing it. He activated the room's display screen. Grainy images showed massive dark ships attacking beautiful crystal cities. The Ravager vessels moved slowly, methodically, like they had all the time in the world. Look at their formation, Jake continued. They don't use defensive patterns. They don't expect return fire. Every battle I've seen follows the same pattern. They show up, make threats, and the defenders surrender or flee. Amy Walsh moved closer to the screen. Those ships are big, but they're not maneuverable. Look at their weapon placements. They're designed for bombardment, not ship-to-ship combat. Captain Rodriguez studied the images carefully. You're saying they've never had to actually fight? A real battle. I'm saying they're bullies, Amy replied. They pick on people who can't fight back. But I'd bet my career they don't know what to do when someone punches them in the nose. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what Amy was suggesting, but no one wanted to say it out loud. They were talking about disobeying direct orders from Earth Command. We're talking about starting an interstellar incident. We're talking about probably dying in the cold vacuum of space. Dr. Grant cleared her throat. There's something else you should know. I've been in communication with the Zephyrians. Captain Rodriguez's head snapped around. You've been what, sir? They needed someone to talk to. They're terrified and alone. I've just been ... listening. Lisa, that's direct violation of the non-contact order. Yes, sir, it is. Lisa met his eyes steadily. And I'm not going to stop. She activated her own datapad and connected it to the display. The screen filled with images of the Zephyrian world. Floating cities of crystal and light drifted through pale skies. Gardens of mineral formations sparkled like jewels. It was the most beautiful thing any of them had ever seen. This is their capital city, Lisa said softly. 3 million Zephyrians live there. They've never hurt anyone. They've never even conceived of hurting anyone. Their entire culture is based on harmony and beauty. The images changed to show Zephyrian families. The crystal beings moved with fluid grace, their bodies catching and refracting light into rainbow patterns. Children played in gardens while adults created music that could be seen as well as heard. They don't understand why no one will help them, Lisa continued. They keep asking me what they did wrong. I think they must have offended other species. Somehow, Rick Davis cursed under his breath. They think it's their fault. The Ravagers will be there in 5 weeks, Lisa said. And when they arrive, all of this will be destroyed. It's not just the cities, but the people, the culture, the art, the music. Amy Walsh turned away from the screen. I can't watch this. Captain Rodriguez stood up slowly. Everyone out, except Commander Morrison and Dr. Grant. The others filed out of the conference room, leaving the 3 senior officers alone. Captain Rodriguez waited until the door closed before speaking. Jake, how many ships do we have available? Jake checked his datapad. The station has 2 defensive corvettes, 1 heavy transport, and my personal patrol craft. There are also 3 civilian vessels docked here for repairs. What about personnel? 18 military, 6 civilians. But sir, half of them are engineers and support staff. Captain Rodriguez nodded. Lisa, what do the Zephyrians know about human capabilities? Lisa smiled sadly. They think we're from a paradise world. To them, Earth sounds like a gentle place with mild weather and abundant resources. They have no concept of what it means to evolve on a dangerous planet. Explain. Sir, the Zephyrians evolved on a world with no predators, no natural disasters, and no real competition for resources. Their biggest challenge is occasional windstorms that might knock down a crystal formation. They literally cannot imagine what Earth is like. Jake leaned forward. What do you mean? I mentioned that humans survive temperature variations of over 100 degrees. They were horrified. I told them about thunderstorms, and they couldn't understand how we live with skyfire that could kill us at any moment. When I explained that we have creatures on Earth that hunt and kill other creatures for food, they went silent for 3 hours. Captain Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. They don't know what they've contacted.
Ow.
No, sir, they don't. To them, we're just another civilized species with pretty ships and advanced technology. They have no idea that humans are the product of 4 billion years of evolutionary warfare. Jake stood up and began pacing. Sir, we could do this. Maybe. Not win, but we could hurt them. Make them think twice about picking on defenseless people. Jake, we'd be ending our careers. Probably ending our lives. Yes, sir. But we'd also be doing the right thing. Captain Rodriguez walked to the window and looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, gentle beings made of living crystal were counting down the days until their civilization ended. And somewhere else, a fleet of bullies was moving closer, confident that no one would dare stand in their way. Lisa, send a message to the Zephyrians. Tell them that humans have received their call for help. Lisa's eyes widened. Sir, what should I tell them about our response? Captain Rodriguez turned back to face them. Tell them that we're coming. And tell them that they're about to learn something very important about Deathworlders. Jake felt his heart racing. Sir, are you sure about this? No, Commander. I'm not sure about anything. But I know one thing for certain. When good people cry for help, humans answer. That's who we are. That's who we've always been. Captain Rodriguez activated the ship's communication system. All personnel, report to the main hangar bay in 1 hour. We're going to have a conversation about volunteering for a mission that Earth Command will not approve of. As the announcement echoed through the station, Jake Morrison realized that everything was about to change. In 1 hour, they would find out which humans were willing to risk everything for strangers they had never met. But deep down, Jake already knew the answer. They all would volunteer, because that's what humans did. The human ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. And immediately, every alarm on every bridge began screaming. The Ravager fleet was already there, moving slowly toward the beautiful crystal world like a pack of wolves closing in on prey. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with grim satisfaction. 26 human vessels had volunteered for this mission. Some were military ships from the Deep Space Patrol. Others were civilian transports and mining vessels whose crews had decided that some things were worth fighting for. Count on the enemy fleet, Rodriguez called out. Lieutenant Walsh checked her sensors. 43 Ravager vessels, sir. They're big, just like the intelligence reports said. But they're moving in a straight-line formation, no defensive positioning at all. They're not expecting a fight, added Jake Morrison from the communication station. Their formation is designed to intimidate, not to battle. Dr. Grant looked up from her xenobiology console. I'm receiving panicked transmissions from the Zephyrian cities. They can see the Ravager fleet approaching, and they're terrified. Some of them are trying to evacuate, but they don't have enough ships. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Open a channel to all human vessels. The communication system crackled to life, connecting all 26 ships. Voices from across the small fleet acknowledged the connection. Rodriguez could hear the tension in every voice, but also determination. These people had come here knowing they might die. All ships. This is Rodriguez. You all know why we're here? Those crystal cities down there are home to 3 million innocent people who never hurt anyone. The Ravagers think they can just roll in and destroy another civilization because no one has ever stood up to them. He paused, looking at the tactical display. The Ravager fleet was massive compared to the human force. Their ships were 3 times larger than anything humanity had brought to this fight. Today, they learn what happens when they pick on someone under human protection. Walsh, transmit our arrival message to the Ravager fleet. Amy Walsh activated the communications array. Her voice went out across the system, broadcast on all frequencies so that both the Ravagers and the Zephyrians would hear it. Attention, Ravager fleet. This is the Human Defense Force. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. The Zephyrian people are under our protection. Any hostile action will be met with lethal force. The response came back within minutes. The voice was harsh and filled with contempt. The translation software worked overtime to convert the alien speech into words the humans could understand. Unknown vessels, you are interfering with Ravager operations. We have claimed the system and its resources. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Rodriguez looked around his bridge. His crew was waiting for his response. In the tactical display, he could see the Ravager fleet beginning to change formation. They were still moving toward the planet, but now some of their ships were turning to face the human fleet. Jake, open a channel to the Zephyrians. Let them know we're here. The harmonic melody of Zephyrian communication filled the bridge moments later. Dr. Grant translated as the alien words flowed like music through the speakers. Humans, you came. We did not believe. Thought you would abandon us like the others, but you are here. You're really here. Lisa Grant leaned into her microphone. We told you we were coming. Humans keep their promises. But there are so many of them, the Zephyrian voice sang with fear. Their ships are so large. How can you fight such a force? Rodriguez took the microphone from Lisa. 'Cause friend, you've never seen Deathworlders fight? Jake put me on the general broadcast. The communication system connected Rodriguez to both fleets and to the Zephyrian cities below. His words would be heard across the entire system. This is Captain Ben Rodriguez of the human fleet, Ravagers. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal from this system. If you refuse, we will show you why Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. The Ravager response was immediate and predictable. Death world, your vessels are tiny. Your numbers are few. We have conquered 100 systems. What can you possibly do to stop us? Rodriguez smiled, but there was no humor in it. You're about to find out. All human vessels, battle stations, implement attack pattern Delta 7. The human fleet suddenly scattered in all directions. Ships that had been moving in a tight formation moments before now spread out across 3 dimensions of space. The Ravagers watched in confusion as the small human vessels took positions behind asteroids, moons, and space debris. What are they doing? The Ravager commander demanded over the open channel. This is not standard fleet behavior. Amy Walsh checked her tactical display. All ships report ready, Captain. The Ravagers are still moving in parade formation. They have no idea what we're about to do to them. Jake, record this transmission for Earth Command. I want them to understand what happened here. Rodriguez activated his command headset. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta 7. Show them what pack hunters can do. The battle began with the humans doing something the Ravagers had never experienced before. Instead of meeting them head-on in a traditional fleet engagement, the human ships attacked from multiple directions at once. Small, fast vessels darted in and out of the Ravager formation, striking at engines and weapon systems before disappearing behind cover. Sergeant Rick Davis, commanding a converted mining vessel, proved that human ingenuity was just as dangerous as human courage. His industrial cutting laser, designed for slicing through asteroids, carved through Ravager hull plating like it was made of paper. Rick here, his voice crackled over the communication system. These big ships have one major weakness. They can't turn fast enough to track us. I'm running circles around them. The Ravager fleet tried to respond with their standard intimidation tactics. They fired massive energy weapons at the human ships, but the humans weren't where the Ravagers expected them to be. The aliens were used to enemies who stood still and absorbed punishment. They had no experience fighting opponents who used speed and cunning. Captain Helen Murphy, commanding a patrol corvette, demonstrated another uniquely human trait. When 3 Ravager ships surrounded her vessel, she didn't try to fight her way out. Instead, she accelerated directly toward the largest enemy ship. Murphy to all ships, her voice was calm despite the desperate situation. Playing chicken with a Ravager dreadnought. Let's see who blinks first. The Ravager captain, faced with a collision that would destroy both ships, turned away at the last second. Murphy's corvette screamed past the enemy vessel, its hull scraping against the alien ship's armor. The Ravager ship, built for intimidation rather than maneuverability, couldn't recover quickly enough to avoid crashing into one of its own escort vessels. 2 Ravager ships down, Murphy reported cheerfully. Turns out they don't like games of chicken. Dr. Grant monitored the Zephyrian communications throughout the battle. Crystal beings were watching the fight with amazement and horror. They had never seen anything like human combat tactics. Think humans fight like they are insane. One Zephyrian transmission said, "They fly directly at ships 10 times their size. They laugh while they are being shot at." "What kind of beings are these?" Another Zephyrian voice responded with wonder. "They are fighting for us. Beings they have never met, on a world they have never seen. They came here to die for strangers." The tide of the battle shifted when the Ravagers realized they weren't fighting a typical spacefaring species. These humans moved like predators, coordinating their attacks with deadly precision. When one human ship was damaged, 2 others immediately moved to protect it. When the Ravagers tried to target the human flagship, the entire fleet converged to defend their leader. "This is impossible," the Ravager commander broadcast on all frequencies. "You cannot defeat us. We are the Ravagers. We have destroyed civilizations that lasted for millennia." Captain Rodriguez responded while directing his ship through a complex attack run. "That's your problem, Ravager. You've only fought civilizations. Today, you're fighting Deathworlders." The Ravager fleet began to show signs of panic. Ships that had moved in perfect formation now scattered randomly. Some tried to flee toward the edge of the system. Others fired wildly at empty space. Humans had done something no other species had ever accomplished. They had made the Ravagers afraid. Amy Walsh coordinated the final phase of the attack. "All ships, the enemy is breaking formation. Time to show them what happens when you threaten innocent people." The human fleet closed in like wolves surrounding wounded prey. But unlike the Ravagers, the humans fought with purpose and precision. They disabled rather than destroyed when possible. They protected the weak rather than preying on them. As the last Ravager ship limped away from the battlefield, Rodriguez opened a channel to the Zephyrian cities below. "This is Captain Rodriguez. The immediate threat has been neutralized, but this isn't over yet." The damaged Ravager ships had barely escaped the system when long-range sensors detected something that made Captain Rodriguez's blood run cold. More ships were coming. Many more ships. "Jake, what are we looking at?" Rodriguez asked, staring. At the tactical display, Jake Morrison worked frantically at his console. The numbers kept getting worse. "Sir, I'm reading over 200 vessels approaching from the Galactic Rim. They'll be here in 18 hours, Lieutenant Walsh cursed. Under her breath, the survivors called for backup. Dr. Grant looked up from her communications station. "I'm intercepting Ravager transmissions. They're calling this the largest fleet mobilization in their history. They're bringing everything they have." Rodriguez studied the sensor data. The approaching fleet was massive, beyond anything humanity had ever faced. Even with their tactical advantages, 26 human ships could not fight 200 Ravager vessels and win. "Sir," Amy Walsh said quietly, "maybe we should consider evacuation. We could take as many Zephyrians as possible and get them out of the system." "How many could we evacuate?" Rodriguez asked, though he already knew the answer would not be good. Jake checked the capacity of their ships. With every vessel packed beyond safety limits, maybe 10,000. There are 3 million Zephyrians on the planet. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what those numbers meant. It could save a few thousand at most, but the rest would die when the main Ravager fleet arrived. Dr. Grant activated her communication link to the planet below. "I need to tell the Zephyrians what's coming." The harmonic melody of Zephyrian's speech filled the bridge once again. Lisa translated as she spoke with the alien leaders. "We understand," the Zephyrian voice sang with sad acceptance. "Bravely for us, but the enemy is too strong. We do not blame you for leaving. You tried to help when no one else would." Rodriguez took the communication device from Lisa. "We're not leaving." "But Captain Rodriguez, surely you must save yourselves. There's no point in dying with us." "There's every point," Rodriguez replied firmly. "Humans don't abandon friends. We're going to find a way to win this." Amy Walsh looked at him like he had lost his mind. "Sir, with respect, how do we fight? 200 ships with 26? Rodriguez was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then his eyes lit up with an idea that was either brilliant or completely insane. "Jake, bring up the system map. Show me everything within a 10 million kilometer radius." The display screen filled with a detailed map of the Kepler 442 system. Rodriguez studied it carefully, looking at planets, moons, asteroid fields, and the local star. There, he said, pointing at a cluster of objects near the system's outer edge. What are those? Jake enhanced the image. Looks like a field of metallic asteroids. The Zephyrians must have been mining them at some point. There are artificial structures attached to about 30 of them. Mining equipment?
Looks like it.
Heavy industrial gear for breaking up asteroids and processing, or... Rodriguez smiled, and this time there was genuine humor in his expression. Gentleman and lady, we're about to turn this entire system into a weapon. Over the next 16 hours, the human fleet worked with desperate efficiency. They split into teams and spread out across the asteroid field. Using Zephyrian mining equipment and human engineering knowledge, they began setting up the most elaborate trap in military history. Sergeant Rick Davis led a team of engineers who reprogrammed the mining lasers to work as remote weapons. These cutters are designed to slice through solid rock, he reported over the communication system. Will go through Ravager hull plating like butter, Captain Helen Murphy coordinated. The placement of improvised mines throughout the asteroid field, using spare ship reactors and mining explosives, our team created weapons that could cripple even the largest Ravager vessels. The beauty of this plan, Murphy reported, is that it looks like a normal asteroid field to their sensors. They won't know it's a trap until it's too late. Meanwhile, Dr. Grant worked with the Zephyrians to understand their planet's defensive capabilities. What she discovered surprised everyone. The Zephyrians have something we can use, she announced during a fleet-wide briefing. Their crystal cities aren't just beautiful, they're also massive harmonic resonators. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. Meaning what exactly? Meaning they can generate focused sound waves powerful enough to disrupt electronic systems. The Zephyrians use it for mining and construction, but with the right modifications, it could work as a weapon. Amy Walsh leaned forward. How powerful? It's powerful enough to overload Ravager ship computers if we can get the frequency right. The problem is, the Zephyrians have never used it as a weapon. They don't even think of it as a weapon. Then we'll have to teach them, Rodriguez said grimly. The final element of the plan came from Jake Morrison, who had been studying Ravager psychology through intercepted communications. They're angry, he reported. Really angry. Ames or survivors from the first battle told the main fleet that humans are dangerous, but the fleet commander doesn't believe it. He thinks his subordinates are making excuses for losing two inferior opponents. Good for us how? Amy asked. Because angry enemies make mistakes. The Ravager commander is coming here to prove that nothing can stand against their might. He's going to charge straight in without scouting or reconnaissance. Rodriguez nodded. Straight into our trap. When the massive Ravager fleet finally arrived, at the edge of the system, it was exactly as Jake had predicted. Over 200 ships moved in a tight formation directly toward the planet. They made no attempt to scout the asteroid field or scan for hidden dangers. The Ravager commanders. Voice boomed across the system on all frequencies. Humans, you have made a grave error. You humiliated a small Ravager patrol, but now you face the full might of our empire. Surrender immediately, and we will grant you quick deaths. Captain Rodriguez responded from his position hidden deep in the asteroid field. This is Rodriguez. You want to face the full might of humanity? Come and get us. Out. The Ravager fleet accelerated toward the planet, confidence radiating from every ship. They had done this hundreds of times before. Intimidate. The locals, destroy any resistance, strip the world bare. It was a routine operation. It stopped being routine when they entered the Rooster. Asteroid field, the first mining laser activated without warning, slicing through the lead Ravager dreadnought's hull. Before the aliens could react, 30 more lasers came online, each one controlled by human engineers who had spent their lives learning how to cut through solid rock. All mining stations. This is Davis. Target their engines first. A disabled ship can't hurt anyone. The Ravager fleet found itself under attack from what appeared to be empty space. Asteroids that had looked harmless on their sensors suddenly revealed hidden weapons. Mining equipment designed for peaceful purposes became tools of war in human hands. But the real surprise came when the Ravagers tried to regroup. As they attempted to form defensive positions, The improvised mines began exploding throughout their fleet. Ships that had survived interstellar wars for centuries found themselves crippled by human ingenuity and Zephyrian mining explosives. "This is impossible," the Ravager commander broadcast. "These are mining tools, not weapons." Amy Walsh responded from her hidden position. "You're learning something important about humans, Ravager. Can turn anything into a weapon if we need." 2. The Ravager fleet, now scattered and confused, tried to regroup near the planet. That was when the Zephyrians joined the fight. Dr. Grant had spent hours teaching the crystal beings how to use their harmonic cities as weapons. The Zephyrians had been reluctant at first, but when they saw human ships taking damage to protect their world, something changed in their peaceful nature. The crystal cities began to sing. But this time, their song was not beautiful. It was the sound of anger, of determination, the peaceful people finally learning to fight back. The harmonic waves struck the Ravager ships like invisible hammers. Computer systems overloaded. Navigation failed. Weapons shut down. For the first time in their history, the Ravagers found themselves completely helpless. Safarians fighting back. One confused Ravager voice said over the communication channels, "This has never happened before." "Nothing like this has ever happened before," Rodriguez corrected. "You've never fought Deathworlders and their friends at the same time." The battle was turning into a rout. The massive Ravager fleet, so confident just hours before, was now scattered and broken. Some ships tried to flee, others drifted helplessly through space, with their systems destroyed. But Captain Rodriguez knew the fight wasn't over yet. The Ravager fleet was broken, but their commander was not finished. From the bridge of his massive flagship, Overlord Keth watched his empire's greatest armada fall apart around him. 200 ships reduced to scattered wreckage and drifting. HULKS. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was unacceptable. "All remaining ships form up on my position," Keth commanded. "We will make these Deathworlders pay for their interference." About 30 Ravager vessels were still capable of fighting. They gathered around their commander's ship, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even the largest human vessel. The alien ship bristled with weapons designed to crack planets and burn civilizations. "Captain." Rodriguez watched the enemy regroup from his position in the asteroid field. His own fleet had taken damage during the battle. 3 human ships were completely disabled, and most of the others were running low on ammunition and power. "Jake, how many ships do we have left in fighting condition?" Jake Morrison checked his tactical display. 18 ships capable of combat, sir. But most of them are down to emergency power reserves. Dr. Grant looked up from her communications. "Station. The Zephyrians are asking if they can help more.
Ice.
Their cities are still operational." Rodriguez shook his head. "They've done enough. This last fight is between us and the Ravagers." Lieutenant Walsh studied the enemy formation. "Sir, that flagship is heavily armored. Our remaining weapons might not be enough to penetrate its defenses." "Then we'll have to get creative," Rodriguez replied. "Rick, what's the status on those mining lasers?" Sergeant Davis checked his engineering reports. "Most of them are overheated from the battle. We might get one more coordinated strike, but after that they'll need hours to cool down." Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. The final phase of this battle would require something different. Something the Ravagers would never expect from a species they considered primitive and weak. "All ships, this is Rodriguez. Form up for attack formation Omega." Amy Walsh looked at him with surprise. "Sir, Omega. Formation is designed for ramming attacks. Against ships that size, it would be suicide. Not if we do it right," Rodriguez said calmly. "Jake, record a message for Earth Command. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that when good people cried for help, humans answered." The human fleet began moving toward the regrouped Ravager ships. Their formation looked like a spearhead aimed directly at the enemy flagship. To the Ravagers, it appeared that the humans were making a desperate final attack. Overlord Keth watched the approaching human ships with satisfaction. Finally, they show their true nature. Desperate and foolish. All weapons, prepare to fire. "We will end this quickly." But as the human ships approached, something unexpected happened. Instead of charging straight at the Ravager flagship, they suddenly scattered in all directions. Each ship took a different path, weaving between the enemy vessels with impossible precision. What are they doing? Keth demanded. This is not an attack formation. He was right. It wasn't an attack formation. It was something much more dangerous. It was a rescue operation. While the Ravagers focused on the scattered human ships, they failed to notice that 3 small vessels had broken away from the main formation. These ships moved quietly toward the disabled Ravager vessels drifting. Throughout the battlefield, Captain Helen Murphy led the rescue team, her voice calm over the communication system. Remember, we're not here to destroy ships. We're here to save lives. The Ravagers had never encountered anything like this before. In the middle of a desperate battle, the humans were actually trying to rescue enemy survivors from damaged ships. It was completely insane by Ravager standards. Sir, one of Keth's officers reported, the humans are boarding our damaged vessels, but they're not taking prisoners or stealing technology. They're helping our wounded. Keth stared at his tactical display in complete confusion. This made no sense at all. They're saving Ravager lives? Why would they do such a thing? Dr. Grant provided the answer over the open communication channel. Because that's what humans do. We help people who need help, even if they're our enemies. Rescue operation continued, while the main battle raged around them. Human medical teams worked alongside captured Ravager crew members to save lives and treat injuries. It was the first time in Ravager history that an enemy had shown them mercy. But the real surprise came when the scattered human ships suddenly converged on a single target. It's not the flagship, but a smaller command vessel that controlled the Ravagers' communication network. All ships focus fire on that communication ship, Rodriguez ordered. Cut off their ability to coordinate. The concentrated human attack overwhelmed the target's defenses in seconds. As the communication ship exploded, the remaining Ravager fleet lost the ability to work together effectively. Overlord Keth found himself commanding individual ships rather than a coordinated fleet. His massive flagship was powerful, but it was now isolated and alone. This is impossible. He broadcast on all frequencies. We are the Ravagers. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. How can you defeat us? Rodriguez responded while directing his ship through a complex attack pattern. You want to know our secret, Ravager? We don't fight to conquer. We fight to protect. There's a difference. The human ships began the final phase of their attack. But instead of trying to destroy the Ravager flagship, they focused on disabling its weapons and engines. They wanted to capture Keth alive, not kill him. It took another hour of careful fighting, but eventually the great Ravager flagship drifted powerless in space. Its weapons were destroyed, its engines were gone. Its crew was trapped inside a ship that could no longer threaten anyone. Rodriguez opened a communication channel to the disabled flagship. Overlord Keth, this is Captain Rodriguez. Your fleet is defeated and your ship is disabled. Do you surrender? There was a long silence before Keth responded. His voice was filled with confusion and something that might have been fear. I do not understand you, human. You have won a great victory, but you have not destroyed us. You've saved the lives of your enemies. You show mercy to those who would show you none. What kind of warriors are you? We're not warriors, Rodriguez replied. We're protectors. There's a difference you need to learn. The aftermath of the battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of executing the defeated Ravagers or enslaving them, the humans did something completely unprecedented. They offered them a choice. Dr. Grant explained the terms to Overlord Keth during his interrogation. You can return to your old ways of conquering and destroying, and we'll hunt you down wherever you go. Or you can learn a new way of living. We'll help you find uninhabited worlds where you can build something instead of just taking from others. Keth stared at her in amazement. You would trust us after what we have done? No, Lisa replied honestly. But we believe people can change, even Ravagers. Over the following weeks, word of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. The story was almost impossible to believe. A small human fleet had not only defeated the greatest Ravager armada in history, but had shown mercy to their enemies and offered them a chance at redemption. The Zephyrians were the first to formally request human protection, but they would not be the last. Within months, 17 different species had sent messages to Earth, asking for the same help the humans had given to the crystal beings. Captain Rodriguez found himself promoted to admiral and placed in command of humanity's first interstellar peacekeeping force. The irony was not lost on him. Humans, who had evolved on one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy, become the protectors of peaceful civilizations everywhere. Jake Morrison established the first human-alien communication center, teaching other species about human nature and helping them understand why Deathworlders were different from other sentient beings. Dr. Grant became the galaxy's leading expert on interspecies relations, helping former enemies learn to live together peacefully. But perhaps the most important change came from the Ravagers themselves. Under human guidance, many of them abandoned their nomadic lifestyle and settled on empty worlds where they learned to build instead of destroy. They became living proof that even the most violent cultures could change when shown a better way. Rescue of Kepler-4 Fortuby became known throughout the galaxy as the moment when everything changed. It was the day that 47 species learned they had been wrong about what it meant to be strong. And it was the day the galaxy learned that when desperate people send out a signal for help, the Deathworlders of Earth will always come through. Years later, when young Zephyrians asked their elders about the humans who saved their world, they would hear the same story again and again. The humans didn't come because they had to. They didn't come because it was profitable or safe or easy. They came because it was right. And that, more than any weapon or technology, was what made them truly dangerous to those who preyed on the innocent. The galaxy had found its guardians, and the guardians had found their purpose.